buried there, but still they are squatters.
Second witness takes the stand as the Hague trial enters week 3.
In the cold, Bishage and Onyonka lose their seats in an action petition.
We have taken the necessary action by forwarding to the courts.
To go or not to go to the Hague. Process begins to determine the fate of Walter Baraza.
In the course of duty, neglect of named police officers. Well, a very good evening to you. We are glad you have joined us on the most comprehensive bulletin in the country. This is KTN Prime.
Indeed, a very good evening. We thank you so much for joining us. Now, let's start off our bulletin at the ICC, and the second prosecution witness in the trial against Deputy President William Ruto took the stand today.
The witness is under protective measures and will be identified as witness 326. He kicked off his testimony as the prosecution sought to demonstrate a link between the Orange Democratic Movement and the 2007 post-election violence.
With the first prosecution witness having concluded her testimony on Friday, the second witness, a man, took the stand as the trial against Deputy President William Ruto resumed after the weekend break.
It is important that you listen carefully to the questions the lawyers will ask you.
Just like the first witness, the second witness, witness 326, is under protective measures within the courtroom, including voice and face distortion.
The chamber grants the request for in-court measures.
He kicked off his testimony in a private session. The trial later resumed in open court, with the prosecution keen on establishing a link between the Orange Democratic Movement and the 2007-2008 post-election violence.
Mr. Ruto was in ODM party. He then became one of the Pentagon members.
The witness outlined the structure of the Orange Democratic Movement and its strategy for the 2007 general election. He told the court that Deputy President William Ruto, who was then an ODM Pentagon member, was tasked with implementing the ODM election strategy in the Rift Valley, an area considered an ODM stronghold.
Also, he was being assisted by some of the people on the ground. Probably it was also lucky that the chairman of ODM also comes from Rift Valley.
William Ruto's lead defense counsel, Karim Khan, protested what he termed as leading questions by the prosecution.
So, Your Honor, it's not an excuse when counsel doesn't get an answer that they want to then become a little bit lax and ask leading questions.
The witness painted a picture of the ethnic landscape in the Rift Valley. He told the court how land was a thorny issue.
And then some people who are born there, grew up there, and the ancestors were buried there, but still they are squatters.
The witness continues his testimony tomorrow. Rita Tinina, KTN.
Now, as the ICC case against William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang continues at The Hague, Interior Secretary Joseph Olelenku has already put in motion the process of indicting journalist Walter Baraza following the ICC's arrest warrant against him. Olelenku has sent the request to the Kenyan judiciary in line with the International Crimes Act. However, this comes just weeks after the National Assembly ratified another process to repeal the said act. Where will this leave the government's position? Ben Kitili reports.
The fate of Eldoret-based journalist Walter Baraza now lies at the hands of the Kenyan judiciary. Nearly a week ago, the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant against Baraza for allegedly corruptly influencing or attempting to influence ICC witnesses by paying them to withdraw. And our Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government, Joseph Olelenku, has begun the unprecedented exercise of processing an arrest warrant by the Hague-based court.
It is taking the legal process in line with the International Crimes Act. We have forwarded the warrant request of arrest to the High Court.
The High Court will decide whether or not Kenya will hand over Baraza to the ICC. Olelenku categorically reiterated that the arrest warrant will be processed in accordance with the International Crimes Act. And as the judiciary deals with that, the legislative arm of government will still be plotting to do away with the same International Crimes Act after putting the process in motion a few weeks ago.
That being a legal process, we want to have the courts to do their work. So for me as the Minister for Interior, we have taken the necessary action by forwarding to the courts.
Baraza's case is a first before the ICC, where a suspect is charged with an offence against the administration of justice. The ICC pre-trial Chamber 2 has since said that it found it necessary to arrest Baraza to ensure his appearance in court. It is not clear how it would affect the Kenyan cases, while the High Court to decide against extraditing Baraza.
To defend myself, but I'm not ready for somebody to come put words into my mouth for his interest.
For now, the Hague still beckons for Baraza as the judiciary prepares to make a decision. However, experts say it is a case that could put Kenya in a catch-22 position concerning cooperation with the ICC. Ben Kitili, KTN.
Now let's move on from ICC matters to electoral matters, and in just 8 days, Kisii County has lost 3 of its elected representatives to election petitions. Bomachoge Burabu and Nyaribari Chache become the latest in a growing list of constituencies that will soon be holding by-elections. KTN's Edith Kimani has the very latest on the election petitions in Kisii County.
The courtroom was quiet, filled with anticipation, as High Court Judge Edward Mureithi delivered his ruling on a petition challenging Joe Onyancha as Bomachoge Burabu MP. Onyancha was conspicuously absent from the courtroom, but his petitioners, Peter Kemori and Albert Nyaundi, could not be missed as they keenly followed the proceedings and later, in their celebration after the judge nullified Onyancha's victory.
We went to court not because Nyaundi wants to become member of parliament or Peter Kemori wants to become member of parliament. We are not selfish leaders. We have been fighting because of the poor leadership that our constituency has experienced for these many years.
Watu wa Bomachoge tumepewa nafasi kurudi kwenyu, tuje kuwaomba nafasi mchague kiongozi wenu.
Onyancha's absence today was perhaps informed by the events of 2009 when he became the first MP to lose his seat after the 2007 general election. This time, the judge said Onyancha was not validly elected as MP because his win could not be verified and electoral laws were flouted. A few hours later, in a different case, the same judge, Edward Mureithi, left Chris Bichange licking his wounds after the court nullified his election as a Nyaribari Chache MP. Wiper Party's Richard Tongi could not hide his excitement, and together with his supporters, Tongi did not let rain get in the way of their celebrations. But it was Bichange who was eager to speak.
Tumenyang'anywa na inaonyesha kwamba judiciary bado inataka reform. Mmekubaliana?
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission now has to make plans for 3 by-elections in Kisii County alone. Edith Kimani, KTN Prime.
Now that story leads us to our big question tonight, and we ask you:
is the IEBC to blame for the malpractices that have led to the nullification of several elections? Is the IEBC to blame for the malpractices that have led to several nullifications of elections?
And indeed, we await your comments on this. Send us your yes or no response with brief comments to the number 22155. That's 22155. You can also get get us on Twitter at KTN Kenya, at Yvonne Okwara, and at Wilson_Mburu. We will sample your views during this live newscast and give you the poll results at the end of the bulletin. Right, now the recent terror attack in Nairobi has sparked an age-old debate about the welfare of police officers in Kenya. And tonight, Ashimwilu interrogates the working conditions of the police officers against their entitlement to compensation.
Police Constable Charo Kaingu can no longer uphold the utumishi kwa wote or service to all pledge he took 31 years ago. The best he can do is light labor, and even then he is visibly under strain. For 16 years, Charo had diligently served at the Marereni Garsen police post. That was until his base was attacked by armed criminals.
Mmoja alilenga kichwa changu akapiga kioo, ile nuva ya kioo ndio tukapata haya maisha yangu yote kabisa.
Admitted in hospital for 3 months, Charo's life took a turn for the worst. He completely lost his vision and needed 500,000 shillings for further treatment in India, an amount neither his family nor his employer could afford. Shortly thereafter, he was redeployed, and his new role was to handle the police station's telephone calls.
Nimepata na hakika hizo pesa hazingeweza kunisaidia tena. Watoto wangu bado wako nyuma, na sikuwa na nia kwamba nitoke mapema kwa polisi, na sija kusia polisi yoyote. Basi naona ni kama nagumika.
Stories like Charo's are however becoming all too familiar within the Kenyan police service. He is one of the hundreds of officers whose welfare was neglected by the government in total disregard of their dedication in their many years of service. In late 2012, activists took to the streets of Nairobi in a protest dubbed Polisi ni Rafiki to raise awareness on the poor conditions under which Kenyan police officers work. The campaign has been extended online, but there has been very little change on the ground for the police officers.
If we can help their living conditions, because we realize police live in squalid conditions, maybe they can do their work better. And we've had input from all generations, the old, young people. Young people seem to be more receptive, the older generation seem to be more conservative in this.
In June this year, Treasury allocated 67 billion shillings to the police service to modernize the security agency. However, the Westgate Mall attack left the Kenya police completely exposed. The officers who responded to the shootout had no protective gear during the operation. So while the police motto dictates that police officers serve all Kenyans, who will look into the ever-deteriorating welfare of the police? Ashimwilu, KTN, Nairobi.
Now, Amnesty International now wants the government to suspend any planned slum evictions until new laws are enacted to protect the victims. Amnesty International spoke as the World Habitat Day was marked today. Angel Katusia reports.
The pain and uncertainty of losing one's home, demolishers clearing everything in their way, in the dead of the night. In the morning, the full effect of the demolition was evident, a hopeless, silent, and engulfing those affected.
Kutolewa saa hiyo tukaambia tokeni tukatoka, tulifanyiwa matendo mabaya, kunyaganywa vitu zetu.
These pictures were taken on the 10th of May this year at the Cartoon City slums along Langata Road. At Nairobi's High Ridge area are the deep sea informal settlements where slum dwellers are waiting for their date with the demolishers. The area is marked for the construction of a road through the settlement's main trading center.
Wakati tunafanyiwa forced eviction, wapolisi wanabeba lori 10. Wanaenda kuhaya vijana lori 20 wanamwaga kwa kijiji.
It is this kind of demolitions that Amnesty International is fighting. In a report dubbed "We Are Like Rubbish in This Country," the international agency terms the government evictions illegal. According to Amnesty International, for an eviction to be legal, those targeted for eviction must receive written notice with the full details of the eviction. They should also be involved in a genuine consultation process.
Evictions should not take place particularly in bad weather, should not take place during the night.
Since 2011, there have been 9 forceful evictions in Nairobi alone. The most notable in the recent past are the Syokimau and Kiang'ombe demolitions by the Kenya Airport Authority, which claimed the structures stood on the flight path. The body is calling for legislations to address the matter, but until then, squatters and slum dwellers will have to continue sleeping with one eye open as they hope for the best and expect the worst. Angel Katusia, KTN.
Now let's take a reminder of our big Q tonight, and we ask, is the IEBC to blame for the electoral malpractices that have led to the nullification of several elections? Is the IEBC to be blamed for the electoral malpractices that have led to nullification of several elections?
That SMS number is 22155. Start with a yes or no, followed by a brief comment. You can also send us your comments on Twitter at KTN Kenya, at Yvonne Acquire, at Wilson_Guru. Here is one text from Joseph watching us in Embakasi. Thank you very much. You say, yes, IEBC is to blame. It's an incompetent electoral body and it should be disbanded. Keep your comments coming in as we go on with our bulletin.
Well, we can just take one tweet here before we go on a break. No, the IEBC did its job well. The judiciary is doing cross-examination which cannot link to the IEBC conduct. Well, we'll continue taking the views that you give us, and we'll sample the results at the end of this live newscast. As for now, we'll take a short break, but don't you go away, because we have more later on.